Thanks for a very interesting talk. I spent much of my career in school exams, and I'm just interested in what the scope is for migrating MOOCs into schools. You've got a controlled environment, standardized curriculum. In a sense, it would seem a much more natural environment. And I wonder further whether it's something to do with a inbuilt suspicion about receiving learning from machines or online rather than people, if there's some sort of social impediment to migrating this form of learning into schools.
So just so I understand you, the question, I guess it's asking to what extent
K-12, I should say, rather than
to what extent could this model translate to K-12? I think I'm not sure about the early years, but certainly for high school, for junior high and high school, absolutely. We've launched about 70 to 80 courses at the high school level, and about 5% of our learner base, which is about 1 million students, are at the high school level. And they are coming and taking these courses so they can be better prepared for college. Many high schools are giving credit, high school credit for the learners who take these courses. But then again, in terms of an edX strategy perspective, we have not actively gone and sought out high schools. It's just happened. So for example, so if someone's interested in saying, look, I'm going to work with these courses and make them available into high schools, it is very much doable. So I think for, in the US, for example, a lot of high schools don't have good computer science. So we now have 4 computer science programs at the high school level, from Berkeley, from Trinity College, this is US Trinity College, one from Harvard, where students in high schools that don't have computer science can now learn high school level computer science. Heck, Delft University even launched a Introduction to Scratch programming course on edX. So kids, now we have kids 8 and 9 years old learning Scratch programming on the platform. So I think, I think it's very much possible. It's just that it's not something we have focused on. Even as a nonprofit, it's important to focus and do well in something and then expand from there.
Hello, my name is Israel. I'm from the Faculty of Education. Do you have any idea how schools deal with issues of cheating? This may not be an issue in developed countries, but in developing countries, someone could pay someone else to take the courses for them, and at the end, just get the certificate.
It's a good, good question, and trust me, cheating is popular everywhere. I've taught in many countries, rich and poor, and if there's one universal equalizer, it's cheating. But so I didn't dwell on that, but digital technology has solutions for it. On edX, when we have programs like MicroMasters, for instance, where when you get a credential, let's say a MicroMasters in solar engineering from Delft, that counts. And so universities are not going to give it away if someone else can, if you can cheat and get that. So we do quite a few things. So when you enroll in the course, first of all, we want to be sure you are who you say you are. So you have to show your ID, a government-issued ID, and your face, and humans actually check that. And then when you take exams, we have something called virtual proctoring. And so while you're taking the exam, the camera watches you, and it's like having a private, you can have a private tutor, just like having a private proctor. Just that the video is watching you, and the video is shot up into the cloud and compressed, and then later on, real humans watch the video to see if there was any cheating going on or not. In the future, we will be launching AI technology where you can actually, people doing AI research can now, they do intent recognition. They can recognize intent based on videos. And so you can tell cheating using AI, and so that will be coming live in a few weeks, actually, on edX. So there are a lot of ways in which to prevent cheating.
We have a question from the gallery.
Yes. Peter Downs, a former languages teacher. First of all, may I congratulate you on your energy and vision and excitement and so on. I think I can see why the Yidan Foundation awarded you the prize. It's absolutely a marvelous idea. But I'd like to ask about what you're doing is you're universalizing access. Now the snag is that there are thousands of languages in the world, and I'm just wondering about the practicalities of access for people who have what we would call minority languages. One of the slides mentioned translation, but translation is fallible. Translation machines are fallible. So could you give us some examples of how you ensure that the material that is being produced in the United States, for example, is accurately available to people with minority languages?
It's a great question, and I think it was Sara who pointed out that one of the future things we should be focused on is making sure that the content is available in many languages. So there are two ways to think about it. One is we have a lot of courses on our platform where the faculty with some partners has translated them into multiple languages. So for instance, we have an entrepreneurship program on our platform from MIT, and they've translated that into Greek, Spanish, Portuguese, and a number of languages. And usually what happens is there'll be a local philanthropist in Brazil, and there was one in Greece, and they said, hey, look, I want my population to be able to access this program, and they will fund the translation of the course. And frankly, translation into local languages can be it's really a mere matter of money. And I love it when a small amount of money can actually completely solve a problem. Those are the easy ones to solve. And I think once you've got the content in a language, getting it localized, I think it's simply a matter of time and modest amounts of money. And frankly, I think that machine translation is coming of age. It's not quite there yet. But I've seen some pretty darn decent demos where even at the speed at which I speak and with my own peculiar accent, it is able to translate that into multiple languages in real time. I mean, machine learning has been able to do that. Real-time machine translation is there. So I think within 3 years, I believe within 3 years, you'll be able to watch any video on edX and pick any language that you want, and it will not only translate the speech, but I know a company that is actually working on, it changes your lip movements to the new language. So in other words, so let's say I'm speaking in English. What this company does, not only does it translate using real-time machine translation into Hindi, but it also modifies my lip movements as if I'm talking that language, because half of language understanding is you watch people's lips. And so trust me, I mean, the future is absolutely insane. For the better.
Okay, we have one question there and then one at the back.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I'm a first-year PhD in the faculty. So I just want to say thank you for your very enthusiastic talk, and I'm really deeply touched by your vision and your contribution so far towards access to education. So I'm also very proud to say I'm an edX learner for a year and a half now, and I think edX is not only an online platform, it also actually encourages student-led learning groups. So we actually have a WhatsApp group with full of people from around the world, and when it comes to exam time, we will all change our profile picture into the professor who lecture on the course, so that he can bless us to pass the final exams. But just through the chatting in the group, and I found a common problem. So it's just because we've come from different backgrounds and we need diverse learning support. So I think echoing with Professor Hennessy's reflection and also the previous question. So I think it's not only about language, it's also about what it's already assumed in the teaching, and because of most of the curriculums are still predominantly designed in the global north, and really doesn't really align with other people's experiences from maybe global south. And so I think that's I think that needs attention, because that can possibly make distance education more distant, not in a geographical sense, but in a social emotional sense, because it can definitely have an impact on your learning motivation when you realize all the lecturers say, oh, just draw on your common sense, draw on your real life experiences. But we have different learning, real life experience and common sense vary between cultures as well. So I'm just wondering how can we make learning experiences more inclusive and also offer support to different learners' needs.
I think these are all all great questions. First of all, thanks for sharing the fact that you can. A lot of our learners are creating local WhatsApp groups and meetups and other things. I'm hoping we can meet after, so I can get your email, have our team. They love to get blog stories about how people are forming groups and doing exciting things, so I'd love to get your story out there.
I planted her there in the audience as an edX learner.
There you go. You bring up another interesting issue, which is So assume that we've done something pretty interesting, but there's so much more to do. And the example you brought up as to how at the end of the day, empathy is, for a professor to be a good professor, you have to have empathy, right? And if your experiences are completely different from a student's experience, then, how do I say, use your experience to do something? And that empathy is very critical. And so, and particularly when you have these large courses with one professor and hundreds of thousands of students doing them, how do you connect? How do you earn that empathy? The bottom line is I have no idea. No idea how to do that. But the good news is that, I think with digital technology and social media and personas, there might be ways of crowdsourcing community TAs. So one of the features we have on our platform is a CTA, community TA. So what we do is, when I finish a course, I send an email to the top 1,000 learners in my class. Yes, at edX, unless something has 6 zeros in it, it's just not interesting. So we send an email to the top 1,000 learners and say, look, would you like to be a community TA for the next round of the course? And people will come. So you have a lot of people from various cultures who come on to be a community TA. Right now, I don't think we do a great job. We just randomly pick them. We don't do a great job of picking them and then having them support learners that are from their own local regions and things like that. But those are all natural things to do. And the beauty of digital technology is that I know everything about the community and I know everything about the learner. I know where they're from. I know what zip code. And from the zip code, I can figure out what the median income of that zip code is from data. I know what language they speak. They also share some data with us. So based on that, it is not hard for us to match people up with mentors or community support groups. So I think, again, the future is very exciting, but these are all things that can happen.
I think we had a question in the back row. Sorry.
My name is Gunmir and I'm from the Faculty of Education, and I wonder, as a teacher, if you plan to extend the number of the programs that are available for the teachers like myself, so that, I could improve teaching skills, for example. Thank you.
So we have, so there again, I think, I'm not sure I'll be able to answer your question directly, but peripherally. In our high school courses, we were surprised. There's some research that came out of Harvard, I think, where they found that 30% of the learners in the high school courses, they found a bimodal distribution. They found a lot of learners were 15, 16, 17. And then they found a lot of learners were like 30 and above. And so it was like a bimodal distribution of the ages of people taking the course. What the heck is going on? Why are large numbers of adults taking high school courses? And it turned out that 30% of the learners in a high school courses are teachers. And so they are taking those courses so they can use that material in the classroom in teaching their students. So that's not a direct answer to your question, is how do you teach better, but teachers are using these resources. I think the other thing is we have quite a few courses on our platform. For example, Eric Klopfer has just some great courses for teachers on online courses on how to use gamification in the classroom, and how to use technology in the classroom, and so on. So I would love to see many more courses, particularly from education departments. Great teachers can teach other teachers online about techniques and pedagogies and so on. I'd love to see much more of that.
Our next questioner has been waiting patiently in the gallery, so we must move up there.
Hello, my name is Mohsen. I'm an undergraduate student here at Jesus College, and I was just wondering, what's the potential for using, for maybe integrating some of the work that MOOCs do with more interactive learning, especially looking at sort of school-aged, high school-aged teaching, especially in the sciences, where it should be more about creativity and exploration, and that's why we do like experimental work and lab work. And how can you bring that to these online platforms?
So first of all, I encourage you to go and check out a course on edX. It's called DemoX. We have a lot of courses with live interactive labs. And if people can go play super sophisticated video games online, why can't we use that in the classroom? So for instance, my own course is on circuits. There is a very sophisticated circuits lab in my course. So much so that at MIT, students do that virtual circuits lab. And the MIT course actually, has stopped the physical lab at MIT. And so, and with virtual labs, circuits are built virtually, in companies. We have a breadboard, you move components around, you have oscilloscopes, you have spectrum analyzers, you see waveforms, and things work instantly. And so you can do a lot of these things online. If you check out DemoX, there's a lot of labs, bio labs. BU has an amazing physics course where students do physics labs completely online. Professor Valvano and Professor Yarabali from University of Texas at Austin teach an embedded systems course where they worked with the TI, and TI built a little lab kit. And I think they've sold more than 20,000 of these lab kits for like 10 or 20 bucks, very inexpensive. And people are buying the lab kits and doing the experiments themselves. So don't for a moment assume that online is not compatible with interactive, highly engaging, hands-on experiments. So the other thing is for live interaction. We will be introducing much more live interaction in some of our courses. The very sophisticated video conferencing technology now, whether it's through Cisco or a bunch of other companies. There are a lot of approaches for live interaction, and you will see more and more of that coming in into online learning.
I think there was one question in the front row, and then somebody over there.
Hi, Professor Agarwal. I'm Yang Li. I'm director from Cambridge Oriental Culture Association. My question is very simple. I just log in your platform, and I found that some courses has already verified, and some courses are not. So, is there any criteria that you choose which lecture can be placed on, and from which teacher or institute? Is there, and how can you, how do you verify them? Thank you.
So at edX, we don't verify teachers. We partner with institutions, with universities. And then the universities then internally decide what content they want to put on the platform. And the professors teach on the platform. We collaborate with universities to decide what is the pricing for the certificate and when to offer the course and stuff like that. But universities have a lot of leeway. So we are a platform. And really, we enable the universities to, we sort of connect the universities to learners, and we kind of get out of the way, so to speak. So in that sense, universities have a lot of control on what they do. What we do worry about is quality. And so we have developed something called the MDC. It's called a MOOC development checklist, which is, we won't launch a course on edX unless the whole checklist has been passed. So we sort of, we have a threshold, and then after that, it's up to the university.
I think we had one.
Thanks, Li Pem. Very inspiring vision to transform education through digital technology. So my question is, so in your opinion, what will be the next technology or technologies will transform or even disrupt education, and how?
Oh, that's an easy one. Machine learning and AR, VR. So for example, with education, if you think this is nothing. I mean, a lot of what we've done is absolutely nothing. We haven't even scratched the surface of what is possible. I think the next big one will be AI and machine learning. We already have some courses on edX that are completely, so using machine learning and AI, that are personalized. So you can take, there's a course on super Earths on edX from Harvard. It's personalized. So each learner gets a personalized experience through a course. We have a geometry course on edX for 7th grade geometry. Check it out. It's from an organization called School Yourself. It's personalized. Depending on how you answer, it will take you through pathways. If you're faster, it'll go faster and slower. So we have a few of these personalized learning courses, but I think over the next few years, we will develop AI that will make learning personalized. So where each person will have their own journey based on what they know. So AI will be big. We will be using AI for tutoring. Already, IBM is on edX, and they use Watson for Watson tutors. Georgia Tech is using AI technology in our discussion forums to advise students. So we will see AI applied for tutoring. Students will not be able to tell the difference between whether a human tutor is answering the question or a AI tutor. And the AI tutors will be much faster. I think that learning gets personalized, as I said. We also have, so right now, we do teach languages. So we have a lot of humanities courses on edX, I should make clear. We have many language courses on edX. And when there's a lot of writing involved, the question is, how do you grade writing? Right? How do you grade essays? And so there, a lot of it is based on peer assessment. We have a peer assessment platform. We also, believe it or not, we also have an AI technology. It's in prototype form, where we can grade essays. We grade the first 100 essays. The professor grades the first 100 essays using a rubric. It trains a machine learning model, which then grades the remaining 1 million essays like in seconds. We have that technology, and we've used it. So, there have been blog posts written from professors who are very skeptical, and you can read articles about this technology. So I think AI and machine learning will be huge. It'll improve the quality and access. I think the second big one will be AR and VR. I think all you have to do is follow gaming technology. Just follow what the Lego guys and all the gaming all the gaming people do. Just follow that and educate. See, our dream is that we want to tie education to technology. So as all these gaming technologies and all the money spinning things, we want education to be running close behind all of that stuff. So we'll bring AR and VR to education. Suddenly you'll be able to do AR labs. There's a company called Labster. On Open edX, you put on the goggles and it gives you a discombobulated hand, and then you can do biology experiments in virtual reality. It's a product. They're selling it today. So I think those are the two big ones that I think will, we just haven't seen nothing yet. I mean, education is going to be nothing like we've been used to going ahead.
I think we have probably time for one more quick question here. Let's see whether we have time for another.
Thank you very much. It's fascinating what you're saying. I'm interested, as I'm thinking through, in what the job and the role of the teacher might be in the future, and what how we train for those teachers, what skills they're likely to have. And on the social side of it, I'm also a little sort of concerned about the relationship between the student and the teacher, because teachers generally go into teaching because they're sociable beings who like to form relationships with their students. And just sort of thinking about the numbers that you're talking about here, and the whole kind of environment is clearly going to change. So I suppose, to make that brief, what skills are going to be needed, and what type of people are likely to be wanting to be teachers with the relationship between their students?
It's a fantastic question, and as a teacher myself, I agonize about, what will my role as a teacher be, in the future, and frankly, we just don't know. I can dream about it and speculate, and frankly, I think the role of the teacher will be much more like what you have at Cambridge, believe it or not. So, as I learn about Cambridge, I see two roles of the teacher in Cambridge. One is within a college. You have your fellows, who are your guides and mentors who work with you closely. I think a mentor may work with a few students. That's one kind of teaching. The second kind of teaching is you do go to classrooms where you learn from your department, and you sit in big lecture halls and so on, even at Cambridge. To my knowledge, there's two kinds of teaching. I think the latter kind, where you sit in big lecture halls and are taught, I think that will be rarer, to put it politically. I think we'll see more and more teaching of the kind that you see in Cambridge in the colleges, where teachers will have they'll spend more time working with people. For those students that are completely on their own and they don't need any help, but for those that want to interact more closely with the teacher, I think we will have more time to spend more time with students, working one-on-one with them. So I think we'll see more of that, actually, believe it or not. But we'll lose some of the big impersonal classroom type of stuff, because that's very well done online. I think that is one. For teachers, what is interesting is, as a teacher, I always thought that, you go and give big lectures and students love it, and oh my God, they all love to interact with teachers. Have you asked students what they think? I think as teachers, we all think that they love to interact with us. I don't think it's reciprocated, not even close. And so I think that. My sense is that, as teachers, I think we will evolve to more of the personal interaction with students and less of the big classroom lecture style. I think students will, I think everybody gets more choice here. Those who want to work one-on-one will work one-on-one. People like David Malin, who teaches Harvard CS50, he really enjoys, he has 2 million students all over the world. And so if you're a teacher, why should you be satisfied with teaching? I was teaching 150 students a semester at MIT. And my circuits courses on edX now have 400,000 students who've taken it. And so as a teacher, it pleases me that, more than a few handful of students will be learning from me. So I guess my answer is that I think as teachers, we will enjoy the scale of impact. Yet at the same time, I think our personal interaction will be with very small groups in much the Cambridge style. So I think we will see a movement to the extreme, so to speak. And I think the middle ground where a single teacher interacts with 100 students, I think that is going to be less so. Again, this is my random speculation as to what the future might look like.
Okay, I'm afraid we are out of time. I know somebody's been waiting very patiently in the gallery, so I'm going to suggest that she's first in the queue to speak to you at tea time, because tea is a very important ritual and we mustn't be late. So can we just thank Anant one more time for really...
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anant.